What a Muslim man supposed to do. Yeah, it take a village. I thought it was, yeah.
It's December, and while everyone's in the holiday spirit, Kevin Gates is serving pure drama. Earlier this year, he split from his wife, got involved with Brittany Renner, and now he's with a new woman, all while the public watches every move. But here's the thing, this isn't just messy love life gossip. There's a pattern, a cycle, and a psychology behind it that explains why Gates keeps repeating the same mistakes, and why it leaves everyone around him in chaos. Stick around, because we're breaking down every twist, every relationship, and the shocking truth behind Kevin Gates' public love life. It's December, and everyone's gearing up for Christmas. That usually comes with a warm holiday mood, a time for joy, kindness, and giving. But Kevin Gates seems to be giving something a little different this season. More like drama, shade, and a whole lot of nonsense. Earlier this year, Kevin Gates and his wife, Drea Gates, officially went their separate ways, or at least made it known publicly. Not long after, he seemed to move on and started spending time with Brittany Renner. This all happened around the same time Brittany suddenly announced she had converted to Islam, and rumors started swirling that she had been talking to Kevin behind the scenes. Once she began showing up with him in public, people had a lot to say. Many criticized Kevin because, technically, he was still married to Drea when he appeared to be getting close to Brittany. And of course, Kevin Gates had something to say back in response to all that talk.
Don't never let nobody tell you need to go back to a situation that wasn't serving you if they wasn't there to see the situation and how it was playing out.
Kevin Gates basically said, "Black people always say it takes a village, but the second I become that village, suddenly everybody's mad." He went on to explain that, as a Muslim man, he's allowed to have more than one wife. In this case, so he was trying to say that the black community shouldn't judge him because, in his view, he was just living according to his faith. His message also made it sound like both Brittany Renner and Drea were completely fine with this arrangement, but later on, we learned that things weren't exactly as peaceful or agreed upon as he made it seem. Kevin Gates pushed back hard against the people who kept telling him to go repair his past relationships, especially the ones urging him to return to his ex-wife and make things right. From his point of view, these critics were speaking from the outside, with no real understanding of what he had been struggling with internally. Gates explained that during that period of his life, he wasn't just drifting emotionally, he was battling some serious demons. He admitted he was using drugs, his health was falling apart, and he was mentally drained. He described himself as unhealthy, depressed, and far from the confident, smiling man fans thought they knew. One moment he shared really painted the picture. He said he once asked his cameraman to send him a picture with his mouth closed, thinking maybe a more serious expression would hide how exhausted and broken he felt. But the cameraman responded that it was actually hard to find such a photo because Gates had been smiling so much recently. That small comment made him realize something had changed. He genuinely felt lighter, more at peace, and the smile wasn't forced anymore. According to Gates, that inner happiness didn't come from a relationship, fame, or material success. He said it came from getting closer to God. In his words, the closer you get to God, the more you have. For him, spiritual connection had become the source of a new sense of stability and joy. But of course, not everyone was buying that explanation. Around this same time, people were heavily criticizing Gates for appearing publicly with Brittany Renner while he was still technically married to Drea. Many saw it as disrespectful or messy. Gates defended himself by implying that his marriage had been draining and that the struggles he went through during that period had contributed to his emotional downfall. He didn't outright blame Drea, but he strongly suggested that the relationship environment was unhealthy for him, and that stepping away from it allowed him to start healing. In the public eye, it came across like he was positioning his new chapter, new relationships, new mindset, as the turning point he needed. Not long after his time with Brittany, Gates suddenly appeared with a new woman, 26-year-old Dominican military veteran Galeni Tejada. He showed her off proudly, bringing her into his social media presence without hesitation. The age difference, he being nearly 39 and she only 26, didn't go unnoticed. In fact, Gates leaned into it, even using her youth to throw shade at older women by suggesting nobody wants someone washed up. Comments like that immediately stirred controversy, especially because they seemed to undermine the women he previously claimed to love and deeply care about. Still, Gates went full force into presenting Galeni as his new source of joy. He acted head over heels for her, going live with her, creating content with her, and constantly posting affectionate videos and photos. Fans noticed that this behavior mirrored how he acted in his earlier relationships. Each time he found a new woman, he presented himself as a man reborn, smiling non-stop, claiming to have discovered real happiness, and talking like he finally understood what love was supposed to feel like. During one of their interactions online, Galeni asked him a simple but telling question. "What about me first stood out to you physically?" Gates didn't hesitate. He said, "Everything," before highlighting her lips and her smile as the features that caught his attention the most. It was a romantic moment to some viewers, but to others it felt like déjà vu. The same poetic compliments, the same public affection, the same passionate energy he had shown with Drea and then again with Brittany. As all this played out, fans and critics started seeing a pattern. To many observers, Gates wasn't just falling in love, he was falling in love fast and publicly, repeating the cycle each time things didn't work out with the previous partner. The pattern became so recognizable that people began predicting the outcome before it even happened. They noticed that Gates always portrayed his current partner as the woman who truly made him happy after years of struggle, but once the relationship ended, he would tell a different story, that she wasn't the right one after all, and that the next woman helped him grow even more. This repeated cycle made a lot of people question whether Gates was genuinely finding happiness or simply projecting it onto whoever was standing beside him at the moment. It also raised questions about whether he was doing the emotional work he claimed to be doing, or whether he was simply jumping from relationship to relationship in search of validation and comfort. To some, it looked like he didn't pause long enough between partners to reflect on his own patterns or take accountability for what went wrong. Still, despite the criticism, Gates continued moving forward with confidence, insisting that his spiritual growth and personal transformation were real. Whether people believed him or not, he stayed committed to showing the world that he was happy, deeply, loudly, and consistently, even if every chapter of his love life looked strikingly similar to the last. People were quick to remind Kevin Gates that he once spoke about Brittany Renner like she was the one, the woman he was meant to be with, the person who stood out above everyone else. Back then, he talked about her with passion and certainty, making it seem like she was his perfect match. So when he later moved on, a lot of people called him out, saying he was contradicting himself. In response, Gates tried to clarify what he meant. According to him, Brittany was the one, but only in the sense that she was part of the journey he needed to go through to become who he is today. He claimed she wasn't his final destination, but she played an important role in his development. In his eyes, relationships can be stepping stones, and Brittany was one of those stones that helped him grow into the version of himself the world sees now. He also emphasized that he doesn't like publicly discussing the people he truly loves, implying that whatever he and Brittany had was deeper than what the public saw. He credited her with helping him elevate mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. At the same time, he insisted that opening up doesn't mean he's gone soft. He described himself as vulnerable, a word many men shy away from. Gates argued that vulnerability takes more courage than pretending to be tough every day because pretending is easy. You hide your pain, put on a mask, and act like nothing affects you. But to actually say, "I'm hurting," or "I'm still healing," requires strength. Gates said he's done a lot of healing already, but he still has a long way to go, just like anybody else who has been through emotional battles. However, when people listened closely, his message seemed to suggest something else. He implied that Brittany's flaws, her mistakes, and the things she put him through ended up guiding him toward the woman he's with now, 26-year-old Galeni Tejada. It came across like he was saying, "Because Brittany was not who I needed long-term, she helped me recognize who is right for me." In other words, Brittany was framed as the lesson, while Galeni became the reward. Many people found that perspective unfair because it subtly shifted blame onto Brittany while painting Gates as someone who simply grew past her. But then another voice entered the conversation, Sheila, a Persian woman who briefly dated Ray J but also had a situation with Kevin Gates. She claimed Gates lied to her about being legally separated from Drea. According to Sheila, he made her believe he was free and clear, when in reality, he still had deep entanglements with both Drea and Brittany. And this wasn't just some random accusation. Sheila said all of this happened right when Kevin was going public with Brittany Renner, meaning he may have been juggling multiple women while pretending to be innocent in every situation. Her comments revealed a bigger pattern. Kevin Gates tends to avoid taking responsibility for the chaos he creates. Instead of reflecting on his own choices and acknowledging the confusion he causes, he often points the finger at the women around him. He presents their mistakes as the reason things didn't work out, and uses their flaws as justification for moving on. And the truth is, this isn't something only women do or only men do. Anyone can fall into that habit. But in Kevin's case, it's especially noticeable because he talks as if every breakup is a growth experience for him while ignoring the damage he leaves behind. The narrator in the original commentary even said that as someone who generally gives men the benefit of the doubt, he would lose the rest of his hair if his daughter brought home a man like Kevin Gates. And that's a powerful statement. It means that even when you try to understand where Gates is coming from, his behavior raises too many red flags to overlook. Yes, he speaks well. Yes, he knows how to be charming. Yes, he has the personality that can make anyone feel like they are special and chosen. But charm doesn't always come from a healthy place. Many dysfunctional people are charming because they've learned how to use their personality to lower people's guard. As the saying from Simple P goes, these types of people charm and disarm. They make you feel safe, comfortable, and appreciated, but they do it in a way that benefits them, not you. They are socially intelligent, meaning they know how to read people, how to respond, how to impress, but emotional intelligence is a different skill entirely. Emotional intelligence requires self-awareness, accountability, honesty, and stability. And that's where Kevin Gates seems to struggle. His relationships start loudly and passionately, full of love and public affection. But when they fall apart, he highlights the woman's faults while acting like he simply outgrew the situation. This pattern makes Kevin Gates look less like a man finding love and more like a man avoiding accountability. And no matter how much charisma he has, people are starting to see that charm doesn't always equal healthy intentions. Sometimes it's just another layer of the mask. People with that charm and disarm personality are some of the most captivating individuals you'll ever meet. They seem to have this natural ability to draw people in, to make you feel like you're the most important person in the room, and to instantly put you at ease. They know exactly what to say, how to say it, and even how to carry themselves in a way that feels magnetic. When you're around them, it feels like they are tuned in specifically to your emotions and thoughts, anticipating your reactions and adjusting accordingly. That social intelligence is impressive, no doubt, and it's one of the reasons they can achieve so much influence and admiration. But the problem is, this same ability that makes them so appealing often masks a deeper instability. Beneath the charm is a pattern that prevents them from maintaining steady, long-term relationships. These individuals rarely stick with anyone for long. They are constantly changing the rules, not out of malice necessarily, but because they act in ways that best suit their own desires at the moment. If something isn't working in their favor, they'll redefine the situation to make it appear like the other person is at fault, or that the circumstances weren't ideal. Deep down, they tend to be unstable, with short attention spans and a tendency to act in narcissistic ways. Their focus is almost always inward. They prioritize what benefits them first, often leaving emotional fallout for others. Friends, romantic partners, colleagues, no one is immune. Even those who seem closest to them will eventually feel pushed away or manipulated because these charmers can't consistently sustain genuine emotional investment. The pattern is predictable. They move from one relationship to the next, rarely stopping to reflect on their own role in the breakdown of those relationships. Accountability is not in their vocabulary. If something goes wrong, it's almost always someone else's fault. For people observing from the outside, it becomes clear that this cycle is not accidental, it's how narcissists operate. They repeat the same behaviors as long as there's someone willing to fall for their act. Each new relationship is framed as a fresh start, a second chance, or the one that will finally stick. But history has shown that the cycle is bound to repeat itself. When you layer in fame, status, or access to resources, the cycle becomes even easier to sustain. A man like Kevin Gates, who is around 39 and has a platform, can continue this pattern with little immediate consequence. Society and fans often forgive or overlook missteps for public figures, and some people believe that being involved with a high-profile individual will be different, that they will be treated uniquely. That belief, that they will be the exception, is what keeps the cycle going. Women, and sometimes men, buy into the narrative that this time will be different, not realizing the behavior is part of a consistent pattern that isn't likely to change. For a woman of Kevin's age and stature, the room to maneuver in relationships would be far more limited. Fame and societal tolerance give men like him flexibility to repeat the pattern while maintaining a public image that still feels attractive. Because of this, there's always someone willing to believe that he will treat them differently. They think, I'm not like the other girls, or I can change him, or he will see me differently. But the reality is that he's already had plenty of women just like them. He's repeated these cycles multiple times, moving from one partner to another, publicly displaying affection, making grand gestures, and creating the illusion that each relationship is uniquely transformative for him.
Social media only amplifies this effect.
The constant attention, the followers, the engagement, it's a system that enables him to continue this pattern without pause. There is a steady stream of attention and validation waiting for him, which makes it easier to leave one person for the next without facing the type of consequences a non-public figure might encounter. And in this scenario, blaming someone like Brittany Renner for the fallout or for the choices he makes is weak. She is not responsible for his behavior, his emotional patterns, or his inability to take accountability. Each person in these situations participates in their own way, but the responsibility ultimately lies with the individual who consistently engages in the behavior, who moves on, who deflects blame, and who benefits from the cycle without introspection. To point fingers at the women he dates is to misunderstand the dynamic entirely. At the end of the day, understanding the psychology behind someone like Kevin Gates isn't about shaming anyone, it's about recognizing patterns. Charm and charisma can be incredibly alluring, but they are not substitutes for accountability, stability, or emotional maturity. They allow someone to navigate relationships in ways that benefit themselves, sometimes at the expense of those who genuinely care about them. It's a cycle fueled by perception, social intelligence, and the willingness of others to believe that this time is different. And as long as there is attention, admiration, and access, the cycle will continue. Anyway, that's the breakdown. It's your boy Ashay Duke Jackson back again with another episode of the Celebrity Junk. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, for watching, and for supporting. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll catch you next time.
We're out.